introduce you to one of Long Island's artists. He's a portrait artist, and his name is John Clancy, and he's here to show us some of his great work. So welcome. Thank you so much for coming today. Appreciate you being here.
Great to be here.
Good. I'm glad. So I know a little bit about you. We were talking a little bit before the camera started rolling. You're a portrait artist. Tell me a little bit about how you got into this. Like, did you go to school for it? Is this something that happened later in life? Give me a little bit of your history.
Well, to start, I really got inspired by my father, actually.
Okay.
When I was a young child, my father would do little sketches and drawings of Pinocchio, a lot of Disney characters, the Seven Dwarfs, and it really got me excited. So I ended up drawing a lot, and then went on to high school, from school to high school, and took a lot of art classes there. Then I went into civil engineering because it took, mechanical drawing. I was good in math and calculating different mathematical things.
All right.
And I went from that to advertising art. I changed my curriculum halfway through, all to a complete turnaround.
What made you do that?
I just wanted to work in artwork. I just got inspired again to do that.
So before with the civil engineering, it was more like drawings, like the CAD kind of thing?
Correct. I was doing CAD drawings. They didn't have CAD drawing then.
Okay.
They had mechanical drawing with a board. So
Okay.
I was doing that. I was designing bridges and things like that in school. Mixing concrete, how to mix different concretes.
I mean, it's hard. That's a hard
It was.
thing to get into.
It was a very hard thing.
Yeah.
What I didn't like about it was, being outdoors in the very cold and having to be with a surveying instrument out in the cold freezing. So I said, this isn't for me.
Understood.
I want to be indoors. So I ended up studying artwork and taking classes in advertising art. And I went on from advertising art into fine art. After I graduated from college, I got a job actually doing illustrations for a display company, and I would work with the magic markers and color in. The designer would hand me a drawing, I would color it in, and then they would take that to present it to a company to say, this is what we're going to build for you. So that was my job doing that. And later on, because of my mechanical background doing mechanical drawings, I ended up doing all the construction drawings for the exhibits.
Okay.
I ended up designing them, then coloring them, and doing the mechanical drawings, and then running the entire shop on how to build the stuff. So I actually I actually did 3 jobs.
Did you like doing that?
Oh, I loved it. It was
that's
great.
pretty cool.
It was great, but I wanted still to learn more, so I went into learning how to paint portraits. So I studied with, I went to a local art store and found this artist named Yuki Tashiro. And he lived in Hicksville and had a studio there. He had a workshop there, which later on went into Farmingdale. And I ended up studying portraits with this man because he was the portrait artist for the United States Army. And I said, wow, this has got to be good. From him, I also studied with the Art Students League with John Howard Sandon, the famous portrait artist, and learned how to do portrait sketches in oil in about an hour and a half.
Let me just stop you there for a quick second. So what made you, or what sparked your interest in doing portraits, actually? Because that's a far cry from doing what you were doing for your job.
What sparked my interest in that was that somebody commissioned me to paint a portrait.
Okay.
And I really didn't have the experience in it. I did have the experience in doing illustrations and drawing and all the other great things that I was learning in advertising art.
Yeah.
But when I went to paint the portrait, it really didn't come out professionally.
But you felt that you had enough skill to do it?
I had enough skill to do it, and it was accepted, but I could have done a lot better.
Right.
And I said, I really want to learn how to really do this the correct way.
Okay.
So that's when I pursued looking for an instructor that would help me with that. And that's how I found Yuki.
So it sounds like kind of a challenge, though. It can't be easy. I mean, I've tried to draw an eye once, and it was just ridiculous. Or hands. It's not easy. It's really not. So
no, it's not easy.
It's not something you can just jump into and decide that you can do. So
no.
how long were you studying with it, studying with Yuki?
I studied with Yuki for almost 10 years.
Wow.
That's a long time.
Yeah, but it wasn't all just portraits at that point.
No.
Then. Yeah.
I got involved with an Asian art form called sumie, which is Japanese for ink picture.
Okay.
And what it is, it's ink on rice paper. And painting on rice paper is like painting on a napkin. It is so absorbent that as soon as your brush touches it, the ink explodes. So there are 7 basic brush strokes that you have to learn in this particular art field.
Okay. Let me stop you real quick though. That's not common, right? This is not a common art form.
No, it isn't.
I never hear, like you're the first, I've done a few of these interviews and I haven't heard anybody working with rice paper actually, so.
It's actually very popular.
Is it?
Yes.
That's interesting.
They have a couple of, there's a lot of societies called the Sumie Society of America.
Yeah.
That's one of the societies. I was actually a board member for that particular organization.
Okay.
And ran one of their local, national art shows at the Bayard Cutting Arboretum.
Wow.
And we had Professor Moto Oi was the instructor that would come there and judge all the different paintings that were submitted throughout the country.
Okay.
So I hope put that together.
That's very interesting.
But learning that art form, I learned it actually by listening before I actually started painting it, because I was studying portrait work. And I ended up also teaching figure drawing at that particular workshop with Yuki.
Okay.
And again, the reason
So
why...
figure drawing like from like seeing a person and
Right, we'd have
painting?
our models come in, nude models, and we would, I would run a whole class.
Oh, wow.
Because I called it sharpen the eye, because painting and drawing from a model is extremely difficult, because the model never stays completely still. It's constantly moving. A person will stand there and then later on they're slumped down a little bit, they change.
Of course. How could you? You're not a statue.
Right, but you want to get the action of the figure. There's certain lines that you would see, like where the line is flowing through the figure to show the action, where somebody's picking something up or sitting there contemplating.
How long is the average time to paint a figure? A person's like, how long would a person be standing there, average, for your class at least?
I would do the classes like this. I would have like a 2-minute pose.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. You draw in 2 minutes.
I wouldn't be able to get my stuff out in 2 minutes.
In 2 minutes, you can get the action of the figure.
Okay.
The lines that show the action, where the arms are going, where the legs are moving. So it's not stagnant. That's what that teaches you. Then you go into a 5-minute. I would teach that. We go from one to the next. I had actually format: a 2-minute pose, then a 5-minute pose, then a 10-minute, which you get more detailed in, and then finally a 20-minute to a half-hour pose, where I would go around the room and I would correct people's drawings, show them where they were, see negative space compared to positive space, so they could see how to draw and where they were drawing was off.
Can you just explain that a little bit of what negative and positive space is?
Negative space, okay. Your arm would be a positive space. Let's say my arm is like this. This spot here would be negative space.
Okay.
There's nothing there.
Got it. Or is it doesn't have anything to do with the lighting, like where something's lit or not lit, it's just what's there?
That shows you negative and positive space also.
Oh, okay.
In other words, the light could be your positive space and your shadow your negative space. And those spaces are not just a space, it's a shape. So if you think in terms that way, almost like my mechanical drawing, you think in terms of a triangle, a square, a circle.
So is that what makes it easier to draw in that short time?
Correct. Instead of looking at the muscle, or you're looking not at that. Your mind is completely reversing itself.
Gotcha. Coming together a little.
It's like drawing on the right side of the brain. So you have your left and right side of your brain.
Yeah. Okay.
One is analytical and the other is
Your creative side.
creative.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So you would walk around, and in the 20 minutes you would critique their work and help them move it along.
Right, and show them where it was, what shape was there.
Oh, wow.
Like, here's a cone shape.
Yeah.
You know, you're missing that.
Right.
Oh, yes. And then they would put that in, and their drawing would come up a lot better.
Gotcha. And so how long did you do that for?
I did that for a few years.
Like beside Yuki? Like,
Oh,
like he?
No,
like in
I
the
was
same
doing
space?
it at his studio.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, but we were originally talking about the rice paper.
The rice paper is where I was learning, when I was studying portrait art, I was listening to the way he would describe the brushstrokes, because there's 7 basic brushstrokes in that particular art form. There's a needle line, nail line, bamboo leaf form, cow bone, and et cetera, et cetera. They all have different names because they look like that particular symbol. And what got me really inspired with that was when he painted a little picture of a mouse, and he did it in seconds. He put the 3 colors on the brush, or 3 different values of the ink, and in seconds he had a picture of this mouse that I was like in awe, like how spontaneous. And he had not just the image of the mouse, it was the spirit of it, the essence. In other words, it doesn't have to be picturesque, detailed done.
Mm-hmm.
It is the essence of that particular subject, the spirit of it.
It's not technical.
It's not technical.
Which is kind of opposite of where your brain was when you started, because you were doing very technical things. So that's probably what really sparked your interest, because it was like this other part of you. They're like,
Yes.
oh, wow, you know, that's something new.
So what I ended up
Cool.
doing was going and buying the rice paper.
Where do you get that?
You can get that at Dick Blick's, any
Really?
art store right
So
now.
It's not, so it's
Yeah.
not hard to get.
No, it's not hard to get.
Oh, okay.
I used to get mine at Yasatomo in New York City. That's where they had the paper, the different colors, the ink. The ink is ground on a stone. It's called a Suzuri stone, and it's a very fine stone that comes out of China. They're getting hard to get too, by the way. I think they took so many of these the stone out that they're starting to get depleted.
Oh, really? I think we were going to say because of COVID.
No, not because of COVID.
I was like, of course, COVID. Blame it on COVID. It's all I do. Oh, so that's crazy. So do you have some though? The stones that you make this ink
I
with?
didn't bring the stone here, but
No, not here, but I mean at your
Oh yes,
home.
I have.
Oh,
I have many of them.
you do. So you do it. You make your own ink.
Yes,
How long does that take?
that takes about 20 minutes to a half an hour,
Yeah.
and it's very meditative.
Yeah. So I was just going to ask you that. So is that part of this whole process?
Yes, it is.
Making the ink and getting your vibe and pulling out the paper and then remembering your strokes and feeling your picture,
Yes.
right? Just coming from within.
Yes.
That's great. That's great. Do you teach that now?
Yes. A matter of fact, I have a job I may be doing with BOCES this October, September, at their school to teach a course.
Oh, that's my friend's daughter just got accepted there.
Ah,
Yeah, so maybe you could be her teacher.
the one in Dix Hills?
I'm not sure where it is, to be honest. It's the BOCES Art High School. That's what I know of, so I'm not sure. So that's great, though. So do you like to teach, or do you like to
yes.
work on your own more?
No, I like to teach.
Yeah.
It's my gift giving back, actually. So to me, it's rewarding to teach somebody on how to paint and get them just as excited as I've been over the years painting.
When you paint, do you set a mood? Like, do you put on like meditation music? Do you have certain lighting, or just have a studio and you just do your thing?
I sometimes put on music because again, if I'm meditating with grinding the ink, again, it's very meditative. Yes, I'll put on some music for that. My studio, the lighting is, I use a mixture of different lights, like fluorescent and incandescent, because I need what's called north light, which gives you true color lighting. Because if you paint under a fluorescent light, it's blue. So your brain is filling in the colors, and when that light goes off, your painting is wrong.
Listen, I understand that just from trying to paint my house. And you pick out your paint and you bring it home, it's different colors. So
Right.
lighting is a big deal.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's really a big deal. So we have your paintings here. And so why don't you tell me a little bit about each of these pieces?
Sure.
You know, and what was behind it and what kind of medium it is. So I see the rice paper, you have some oil, right? Or acrylic? I'm
These
not
are
sure.
acrylics.
These are acrylic.
I have both, acrylic and oil.
Okay. So let's talk about, we were talking about the rice, so let's talk about this one first.
Okay, that's a picture of Poppy. And again, this is a painting on rice paper. And it's using the, for instance, the flower itself was probably done with, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 different brush strokes. That's it. That's 5 brush strokes there. And these are called needle lines, but they're short. So it's a very short needle line. You can combine the strokes together and come up with other brush strokes.
Okay.
And you put 3 colors on the brush at one time. And you just get one chance to do this, by the way. You can't go over it.
Oh.
You get one chance to put this down. If you mess it
Oh,
up,
because of the paper.
because of the paper,
Ah, right.
throw it away and do another one.
Fail.
Failed. I had a lot of those.
It's okay, it's how you learn.
That's correct. So, and then mounting it's another whole process on how to mount these things, because the paper is tissue thin, and it has to be mounted on a substrate. And Yuki taught me a way of doing it with actually using Elmer's glue and an iron.
Oh. How long does it, like, how long do you have to, first of all, you paint it like on an easel or on a table?
No,
Like,
this
where
is
are you
painted on a
painting?
table, and
On
it's
a
best to
table.
be standing up because you don't just use your hand in doing the painting. You use your whole body, if that makes sense to
Nope.
you. Think of a piano player.
Okay.
Piano player doesn't sit there and just move his fingers. He moves in with the music and feels the music. It's the same thing with this art form. In other words, if you're doing a brush stroke, you use your whole arm or your body to do that stroke.
So it flows, like a flow.
It flows. So you become one with the artwork.
Now, sidebar note, you're a musician.
Yes.
Do you feel that that comes into your work? Like, because you were just saying, like, a musician kind of, you know, flows with their music. Do you feel that that artistic part of you connects with?
I think
This?
it's,
You could say no.
in a way it does, because it's how can I put it the right way? It's all mathematical. So it's all composition, if you understand that.
Right.
So you have composition in music and you have composition in paintings.
But you're saying that this particular one really isn't, right? This is more of a free-flowing.
It's free flowing, but there's a composition here.
Okay.
In other words, this has the pyramid design, which is
Oh.
the strongest composition.
Okay.
So you can see, like, there's a pyramid here, there's another one here, there's another one down in here, and then you have an S form going through it, so to speak.
I see it. I didn't, but now I do. How long does it take? Like, how long do you have to have it dry before you can?
That dries pretty rapidly.
Okay. Does the paper like shrink? You know, like when you wet a paper and it shrinks a little bit. Does
It
do
can
that
it
kind
can
of-
shrink a little bit and bubble up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has that tendency to do that.
Yeah. So you gotta be careful. And you have that's your signature?
Yes, it's actually my name, Clancy. I just made it look. You see it?
Yeah. And then you have your own stamp.
Yes, I have several of those. I used to have a handlebar mustache, so one of them says, "A man with long mustache."
Really?
I had it out to here,
I really wish you still had it. Not gonna lie.
like Salvador Dali.
Would have loved to have seen that. That's fantastic. All right, let's talk about these other paintings. They're pretty great. Let's go with the horse.
That's a Brazilian horse, and I just got inspired with this particular horse with the markings on it, and this is painted with an acrylic on canvas. And again, the brush strokes I learned with Sumier are in this painting. In other words, I can put 2 or 3 colors on my brush of acrylic paint in just one brush stroke.
But you can fix it if you need to.
Yes, this is actually the easiest art form there is to do. Oil painting and acrylic. Oil painting is by far easier than all of them.
What is that? Is it because of the texture of the paint?
Because
or?
you can paint over it.
Oh, okay.
And it's easy to manipulate the paint. And it doesn't dry as fast, so you can mess around with it for quite a bit.
Is that the most popular oil paint?
Oil painting is again, yes, because it's easy to work with. Acrylic is stepping up a little harder because, and I work with glazes on that. In other words, I'll put a color down, and then I'll glaze over it with transparent paint.
To just keep it.
And it keeps modeling and it gives it depth.
Oh.
Which brings an interesting thing that I learned with Yuki Teixeira, was I got commissioned one time to do a mural for a church in Harlem. And I had limited time to do this. This was a big painting. It was 10 feet across and 10 feet wide, and it was up in his studio, and the door was only 30 inches wide. People were asking how we were going to get it out.
Good question.
But we did. Anyways, he first had me do a small painting, smaller than this size, to show the people that commissioned me to get an approval. And I was working and working and working on a smaller painting, and he would come over and help me and say, this is incorrect, or fix this here, or add color here, or do this. And I would do that. And I'm going, we're running out of time. We got 4 weeks to do this. We wasted 2 weeks on this little drawing.
Right.
How am I going to do a 10-foot painting in 2 weeks?
Good question.
Don't worry about it. I said, okay.
You don't worry about it.
So I went there. He goes, we're going to do this in the reverse color technique. I said, what's that? You're going to paint the entire painting in the reverse color of the color wheel. Now, remember when you were in school and they taught you about the color wheel, like red, yellow, you mix red and yellow and you get orange.
Right.
Yellow and blue, you get
purple.
Green.
Green, told you.
Green.
Red and blue make purple, sorry.
The opposite of red is green. Everything's in nature like this, by the way. Opposite of blue is orange. The robin's blue, orange. Christmas, red, green.
Oh. Never thought about that.
And he taught me the reverse color technique. He said, first you're going to paint this entire painting in reverse color. Now this was a painting of Jesus with John the Baptist, okay? Jesus was wearing
Piece of cake.
Was going to wear a blue robe. He had a blue robe. The sky was going to open up with this bright yellow light coming through. And so here I'm painting it in reverse color. So what's the opposite color of orange? It's blue. A lot of your face colors has a yellow orangey tint to it, okay? So I had to paint his face blue and green. It looks psychedelic. Instead of a blue robe, he had the opposite color, orange.
So you were commissioned to do this?
No, that's not how the painting was finished.
Oh, I'm like, I don't understand. I would not be happy.
This is called the reverse technique.
Okay.
People would come, the sky was yellow, and and everybody's faces were blue and green, like they were made out of ice.
Okay.
And it was, people would come into the studio and see this thing and would go like, wow, psychedelic. Because it was like completely opposite of what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You don't see things like that. And then he said, once you're done with that, we're going to repaint over the whole thing, the real color. I go, we're going to paint the mural twice? First in the color, I got to figure out what's opposite.
Right.
And then I'm going to paint it with the real color in 2 weeks.
So what happened?
I
Wait,
painted it.
so the blue, where the blue was, did you then put like orange on it, or
I
like?
put skin tone colors over that.
Oh, so you literally just changed. So you didn't even do the opposite color. You just
That
did
is the
regular.
opposite colors. That has your
Skin
skin tones
tone?
have yellow, orange, red,
So you
orange,
mixed it
red.
together.
So all that mixes together,
Gotcha.
and that goes over the top. And I said, "Why are we doing this?" He said, "Because what happens, the way light is, it'll go through the color that's on top, hit the reverse color on the bottom, and intensify coming back out. Your brain and your eyes are so sensitive, people don't realize how sensitive they are, that they'll feel it. They won't just see the painting like a skin tone, they'll feel the power coming through of this John the Baptist and Jesus in the water. They'll
you're looking
feel the power of the sky opening up. It was reverse color underneath, and now it's the actual colors. And when I did that painting, people came in, and the first thing they would do is go, wow. They couldn't, they would just feel it. They felt the power of the color vibrating.
Is that a technique that you see often, or?
No, I've never heard of it until he showed me that.
Right, but I mean, since then, have you seen other
No.
works? No.
No.
So is it?
I'm sure people are doing it.
Right.
There are people that do it.
And it's not something that you've continued to do, or have you played around with it, or no?
No, no.
Just that one time.
Just that one time, you know. And then another time he gave me another project to do to learn, because I was doing still life painting also. Because again, that was training your eye like the figure drawing. Except with still life painting, you really have to look at all the reflections in an object. And I would start doing those, and then what he goes, now I'm going to give you the hardest one to do. If you do this, you're a master painter. I said, oh, okay, what is it? We're going to use a white cloth for background, put the light on it. You're going to have an object that's made out of silver, like a silver, I got a silver chafing dish with ornaments all over it. You're going to have that. You're going to put pewter there. You're going to put crystal and glass, and then you're going to, and stainless steel, for instance. There's 3 different metals that are all silver, and that when somebody looks at the painting, they'll know which is what.
So how did you figure that one out?
I looked at the object and intensely looked at it and painted what was crystal. It looked like crystal, and the glass looked like glass. There's a different, they look different.
Okay.
They're different.
Do you still have that? Do you still have?
Yeah, I still have that painting.
Oh, that's cool.
It's from years ago.
Yeah, yeah. So we're running out of time, but I
Oh.
just wanted to talk about the Pope. 'Cause
Yes.
he's been sitting over my shoulder, looking over us. Tell me a little bit about that. That's oil.
That's painted in oils. I just did that particular painting because I wanted to have a sample that actually had a person that people would recognize, and
So just from a picture.
that was from a picture, actually from Newsday picture.
Oh, how hard was that then?
It wasn't that hard.
No,
No,
that's okay. Because you had mentioned before that it's easier to work with somebody in
it's
person.
easier to work with somebody in person
Yeah.
because you can see a lot more detail. A photograph and a camera distorts things, and you're not going to really see the reflections and the real color. You know, the colors that are reflecting off clothing and everything else that's going into the reflecting onto the face. So when I do a painting like those, I have to use my knowledge and then put those reflections in, even if they're not, because they're not in the photograph. They're not there.
So just from experience. Of
Just
what
from
you-
experience,
Yeah.
yes. A lot of time, Yuki would teach me, don't paint also what you see, paint what you know.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So he was one of your influencers,
Right.
right? Is there anybody else who really influenced you in your artwork, aside from your dad?
Well, you know, the old masters, a lot of those.
That you studied?
I like Miro. I mean, I like a lot of different, I like a lot of different art.
Okay.
Salvador Dali, you know.
Just
I don't have a particular
usual.
artist that I you know, look up to.
okay. That's good.
I like a lot of different things.
And you absorb all of it and then do your own thing, which is
Right.
fantastic. I was going to ask something.
My website, by the way, is showing some of the newer things that I'm doing,
Yeah.
which are, I'm painting now, actually they're surrealistic veneer. I'm doing friezes, so to speak. A frieze is an ornamental part of a building. Like you have your cornice piece on the top of a building, if you know Greek architecture and all that. A frieze is a...
Sure, I totally know Greek
It's
architecture.
like is a sculpture type of relief that's on a building.
Okay.
So what I'm doing is faces, and what I'm doing with these faces is making them look like stone. They're painted like in grays, so it's stone. But then I have different ornamentations on it. Like I have one of the paintings is called Dragonfly Diva, and it's out. Her hair has dragonflies and flowers.
I saw this on your website. I saw this. It's very, very cool. I like it.
And I make the eyes and sometimes the lips or whatever, I paint those realistic. So it's alive, so to speak. But it's stone, but it's alive.
So it's creepy.
It's not creepy. It's
Just kidding.
it's based on myths, different symbolism. Like the dragonfly has different symbolism in different countries. It
Yeah.
could mean one thing in one country and something else in another.
And are you showing these pieces anywhere?
I just put one in one of the local art competitions, which was accepted into that, and I think they had like 480 entries, and they only took 70 or something like
Oh,
that.
wow.
So this is one of the paintings that was accepted there.
That's great.
Yeah, it
I
was
also
good.
saw on your website you did something for the COVID heroes.
Yes, that painting is at the MacArthur Airport. It's on permanent display.
Yeah, that is amazing. So were you commissioned to do that, or is that just something that...
Yes, I was commissioned to do that, but I donated a lot of it to the police department, Suffolk County. I was involved with them, and I think the police commissioner was there, Angie Carpenter was there, there was a couple of senators, there was a lot of people at this particular event when they had the unveiling. But this painting is right now at the airport, and it's on permanent display.
That's amazing. And so you have, a hero from every
Workspace.
workspace, right. So did those images of those people just come out of your head, or are they actual
Yes.
people?
Well, there were like models and images I found, and I
Right.
composed everything
Put them all
together and
together.
put it together.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. So let's see. We talked about your artwork, your influences, what's coming up on the horizon. Anything else you want to talk about? Did we hit it all?
I think we hit everything.
That's fantastic. So how about this? Where can they see your work?
A lot of my work can be seen on my website,
Which is
www.johnclancyart.com.
simple. Very
Easy.
simple. Great. Yeah, I saw it all on there. It's a beautiful website, and all of your work is beautiful. Everybody should go and look at it, because this is just a snapshot of what's really there. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming.
And I specialize in pet portraits.
Oh, right. We don't have one of those here. But
No,
yes.
because they're all commissioned works.
Oh, okay.
So they're gone. A lot of them are gone.
Okay, yeah, those are great. Love them. So good. Yeah, so I hope everybody goes and sees your artwork. I appreciate you coming here. It was really nice talking to you.
Thank you.
And it was really nice speaking with you. And as you heard, if you're interested in seeing any of his artwork, please take a look at his website, johnclancyart.com. Thanks for being here.